Why people quit therapy right when it starts working. There's a pattern therapists notice often enough that it has a name, though the name isn't what matters. A client comes to therapy. The early sessions are cautious, surface level, exploratory. Then something shifts. They start going deeper. Real things begin to surface. The work starts to feel like actual work, and for the first time, there are signs it might be going somewhere. And then they cancel a session, and then another, and then they don't come back. Sometimes there's a reason given. Life got busy, finances changed. They felt they'd got what they needed. Sometimes there's no reason at all. Just a gradual withdrawal at exactly the moment something was beginning to move. This isn't rare, and it isn't a failure of the therapy or the therapist. It tends to happen, quietly, because something in the therapy started working. To understand why, it helps to think about what therapy actually asks of someone when it begins to go somewhere real. Early sessions can feel relatively safe because the material stays manageable. Background, history, symptoms described from a slight distance. But when the work deepens, something different is required. A person has to bring something unfinished into the room. Something they haven't resolved, haven't made sense of yet, possibly haven't said out loud to anyone. That is genuinely exposing. Not in a dramatic sense, in the quiet sense of being seen doing something you're not yet sure you can do. For many people, that exposure activates something older than the therapy itself. A learned instinct, built over years, that says, when things get close, when someone starts to really see you, something goes wrong. Closeness leads to disappointment. Being known leads to being judged. Staying is how you get hurt. The therapy hasn't confirmed that, but the nervous system doesn't wait for confirmation. It responds to the shape of the situation. Increasing intimacy, increasing vulnerability, increasing risk, and does what it's learned to do. It moves toward the exit. What makes this particularly hard to see from the inside is that the urge to leave rarely announces itself as fear. It arrives in practical clothing. The sessions feel less necessary than they did, which, oddly, is a sign they were working. The problems that brought someone in feel smaller, which is real progress being misread as completion. There's a faint sense that they've got the gist of it now. They can probably take it from here. These aren't lies, exactly. They're the mind finding a believable reason to do what the nervous system has already decided. There's something worth sitting with here about what it means to stay, in therapy or in any relationship that's starting to require something real. Staying past the point where leaving would be easy is, for many people, the unfamiliar thing. The pattern they've never quite managed before. And this is one of the things therapy is quietly trying to practice. Not just the insights, not just the processing, but the experience of staying when the instinct says leave. Of continuing past the moment that used to be the ending. When a therapist notices this pattern starting, the slight withdrawal, the missed session, the sudden sense that things are fine now, a good response isn't to hold on more tightly or to challenge the leaving. It's to name what might be happening, gently and without accusation. To make the pattern visible rather than invisible. Something like, I've noticed the last couple of sessions you've seemed a little more distant. I wonder if something in the work recently felt like too much. Not an accusation, an opening. A small act of repair before the rupture becomes a departure. Because what a client needs to discover, and what leaving at this moment prevents them from discovering, is that the relationship can survive the exposure. That being seen doing something difficult doesn't end in the thing they were afraid of. That staying past the threshold is possible, and that something different waits on the other side of it. For some people, that discovery happens eventually, in therapy, in a relationship, somewhere. For some, the pattern holds for years. Perhaps this is one of the more honest things to say about change. The moment it becomes real is often the moment it becomes most frightening. And the distance between leaving and staying in that moment can be very small and very significant. We'll explore what tends to wait on the other side of that threshold next.